welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Urvi and I'm taking you through my New York City apartment hunting process. It's that time of the year again where the lease is up, I have to move. I looked at a bunch of apartments in New York and this is a three-part series, so if you haven't watched the video that came out before this, make sure you watch it if you are looking for apartments or are interested. I also shared some renting tips and apartment hunting tips in that video, so yeah, if you haven't watched it, I'll link it up here somewhere. But welcome to part 2. In this video, I'm going to be taking you to New Jersey, then to Brooklyn, and then back to Manhattan to look at some apartments together. When I first moved to New York from India for college, I actually lived in Jersey City, Journal Square to be exact, and I hated it. I hated every second of it. That was just not my vibe. But you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And then I moved to Newport, which is downtown Jersey City, and it is by the water, by the river, and it was a lot nicer. Really nice apartment. Most of the buildings around there are like doorman buildings. That just wasn't for me long term. But since New York City is so expensive now, I decided to venture back out to Newport to see if I could maybe potentially move out there. Now it has been about 4 years since I lived there, so I needed to kind of suss out the vibe. I don't have friends who live there. It is a really quiet part of Jersey, and I feel like living in Manhattan for so many years now, I'm kind of used to the hustle and the bustle of the city. I did think that I would see a lot more apartments in my price range than I did, which was a little bit shocking. Apparently rents are not just up in Manhattan, they're up everywhere, including Jersey City. So I only looked at 2 apartments and they were in these sister buildings located like opposite to each other. They were both studios and they were both in the $2,650 to $2,750 price range. So really not even that cheap compared to Manhattan. Welcome to Jersey City, I guess. So this is the studio apartment. As I walk in, there is an entryway closet, pretty big, like size-wise. And then this is the living / sleeping area. If I do like look in the corner, I see the World Trade Center and the water a little bit. It is a decent size. Walking into here is the kitchen. And then let me go in here. There's one closet here and one full-size closet here. And then on the opposite side is the bathroom. There's like a natural light coming in here, which is important to me. The only thing is, like, I need to evaluate if for me it's worth moving out here, just how long it's gonna take me getting into the city, and like this place is like a 7-minute walk from the train station. So just like considering all of that and like weighing if moving out here to live in a studio apartment is worth it. Also, it doesn't feel really spacious or anything because the roof is really low. I can like literally almost touch it. So I don't know if it's worth it because this is like $2,650 right now, and it's gonna be $2,700 soon, he said. So I have one more to see. It's a sister building. This is Parkside East. I'm looking at Parkside West now. Immediately, I like this one a lot more. I like that the floors are like more new or updated, and it also feels like bigger than the last one. And the view is better here. I walk in, let me show you. You can see the Empire State right there. But it just feels, let me zoom out, just feels a lot bigger. There's a closet here. This is the entryway, and that's the kitchen. Dishwasher, and there is a pantry here, which is nice. And then on this side is 2 more closets and then 1 other closet. So lots of closet space. And we have the bathroom, which the bathroom here feels also more updated than the previous one. I'm feeling good about this one. I'd actually like it. The second studio I actually really liked. It was very spacious with like lots of storage space. I just decided that saving 100 or 200 every month was not enough of a saving for me to decide to move to Jersey City. I kind of felt lonely, and Newport doesn't have a lot of like things to do in terms of places to go or restaurants. You have to walk across the water to Hoboken for that stuff. So I just didn't think I would enjoy living here, so I passed up on these. A month later, I noticed that the same apartments in the same building are $100 more expensive. So at this point, we're looking at $2,700 to $2,800. One day, I was so irritated by how high rents were in New York that I started looking at parts in Brooklyn that I knew nothing about, and that's when I came across Prospect Lefferts Garden. It's not Prospect Park, but I did go out there to look at 2 apartments, and even though I decided ultimately that living in that part of town was just not for me, I did really like these 2 apartments. This first one was a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment with a shared patio area. It was $24.50, so really cheap, but they were also offering a month or so free, which meant the net rent came down to $22.50, which I thought was such a great deal, and I think that's what enticed me to even go out here and look at this apartment. As you walked in, there was the kitchen on the left side, which was part of the living area. It had really big windows that let in a good amount of natural light. I did like all the finishes in the kitchen. They were really new and updated. All the floors were updated. This entire unit looked like it had been renovated. The most clutch part though is that there was a washer and dryer in unit, and then you walked into the bedroom, which was a really good size. It's a massive bedroom, could fit a king bed and even have like a dresser. And there was a closet in the bedroom, and there is the shared patio, which was not really well kept, but it is winter, so you know, you could do whatever you wanted with it. Come summer, that could be a cute place to decorate. And then the bathroom was also pretty clean, pretty nice. So all in all, this was a really good apartment and a real good value for money. Let's look at the other one, because I think this was such a beautifully done apartment. If it wasn't in Prospect Lefferts, I would have literally signed the lease the same day if I could. This apartment had been recently renovated, so it was just, all the fittings were so beautiful. There was a huge balcony in the living area. It was also a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment and was listed at $26.50, but I did see that a couple of days later the rent went down to $25.75. All the knobs and the fittings in the kitchen were beautiful, like polished gold color, and then the bathroom had some of the most updated fittings and shower head and everything that I've ever seen. The bedroom was a beautiful size. There was an AC unit in both the bedroom and the living room, and the bedroom also had storage. This apartment also had an in-unit combination washer dryer in the kitchen area. It had an intercom system. It had, I think, speakers built into the wall, or Wi-Fi speakers or something of that sort. Out of all the apartments that I saw, I think this was the most beautiful, the most well done, well designed apartment by far. I loved it so much. I did speak to a couple of friends who'd lived in different parts of Brooklyn before, and they said that Prospect Lefferts was probably not the best area for me to live in. This was also a really long commute, about 45 minutes from my job, and I have to go into the office 3 days a week. So despite really liking this apartment, I did not end up going for either of these. Now let's go all the way to the upper west side. This was a condo building located literally across the street from Central Park. It was a studio, but a large alcove studio, and the rent was $27.50. The application fee for the condo was another $750, and then the broker fee was 1 month's rent, which was $27.50. This was a doorman, elevator, laundry building. It also had a gym in the basement. It wasn't free to use the gym. I think it was like $25 a month to use the gym. The apartment itself, as you walked in, had a huge walk-in closet on the left side and a huge walk-in eat-in kitchen on the right, and lots of light coming in even though it was north facing. The living room was long and narrow, so lots of space to do whatever you wanted. This person who was already, I guess, moving out of here had a couch and also a table set up in the living area. And then as you walked into the living area, through the massive window there, you could actually see Central Park from your window. This was on the 7th floor, so there was a good amount of light. It was quiet. And then there was the bedroom nook, which in studios, my favorite part is having a nook for your bed. So your bed is hidden from like plain view when you walk in. So I really love that about this one. And then right next to the bedroom was a little walkway into the bathroom. And the walkway also had really a 3-door closet. So again, lots of storage space, really beautiful apartment. I did end up applying for this one and didn't get it because there was obviously a lot of interest. And as I mentioned in my last video, it's always people who have better financials or are willing to offer even like above asking, which is so crazy to me, sometimes get the apartment, which was the case for this one. But yeah, it was one of the top contenders. I would have definitely loved to live here. The next apartment was also on the Upper West Side, a little more like central Upper West Side. It was on West 89th and off of Columbus. This was a studio listed at $24.50. There was a $875 condo application fee, and the broker's fee on this unit was 15% of annual rent, which comes up to about $4,400. So even though the rent was cheap, I think if you added in all the expenses, this came up to around like $27.50 a month on a 1-year lease, which I don't think is cheap for this studio in particular. I really liked the archways that it had. This was a living room. Although it doesn't look like it in the video, the living room was a little bit dark. There wasn't too much light in this apartment. It was also a ground floor unit. So even though it was not right up the street, not too much privacy. The kitchen was right off of the living room. This was an open house, so it was a little bit conscious filming, and that's why the video is kind of like quick. There was one closet in the living area. It was pretty large, pretty deep. And then that led into a little walkway into the bathroom. The bathroom was pretty decent, nothing special. And there was another deep closet outside of the bathroom. I think my favorite part about this apartment was just these like archways. This was also not a doorman or a laundry building. There was an elevator in the building, but since this was a ground floor unit, you wouldn't need to use the elevator anyway. Even with all the fees, this apartment rented in 2 days. That's how New York City market is right now, which I wasn't surprised. For the next few apartments, let me take you all the way to downtown New York. All these apartments were in Financial District. I looked at 3 different apartments and 3 different layouts in this building. All the apartments were between $32.50 to $35.50 gross, and then they were offering a month free. So it would come down to like $29.50 to $3,200. So slightly out of my price range, but I did want to look anyway. The thing I noticed almost immediately going into the first 1 or 2 apartments was that there was scaffolding covering the windows. And with that, even though buildings tend to say the scaffolding will come off in like a month or 2, it almost never happens as they say it will. So ultimately I decided that because of the lack of light, the scaffolding covering the windows, and this just being a slightly above my price range anyway, that this wasn't for me. But I do think it's still interesting for you guys to see the different layouts. So let's look at the apartments. So the first one had a really massive closet on the left with really nice shelving systems, lots of storage space. You walked in to a long walkway, and the bathroom was on the left side. You can see how dark it was in here. I had to kind of like turn up my iPhone's brightness to get this video. My favorite part though was the kitchen and the chandelier in the kitchen. It was such a nice touch. It was so beautiful. And the kitchen did look out into the living area, and the living area was actually a decent size. It was pretty large. It would fit a bed and a couch. But there you go with the scaffolding. It just faced directly at another building, so whatever light did come in was very little, and then you'd always have to look out your window and see the scaffolding. Lots of closets. 1, 2, switch to this, and 3. Kitchen is pretty much same as the last one. I like the size. The only thing that's like throwing me off is having this scaffolding on the windows, but I do like the view, if this were to not be here, better in this one than the previous one. This one's a slightly different layout. Walk in, there's the bathroom. There are 2 closets on the right. The kitchen here does look slightly bigger, but then the living room is smaller. I also see the scaffolding again, and like I feel like that building on the other side would just block any light that could come in here. Not too sold on this building. So those were all the apartments that I'm going to include in this video. If you want to see more, I'm taking you to Bushwick and Park Slope in the next one to look at some apartments there. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you come back and watch part 3 of this apartment hunting series, and I hope you enjoyed. As I'm filming this, I do want to say yesterday I did sign my lease on the apartment that I picked. It's not in any of these videos. I will have separate videos touring my apartment, giving you an empty apartment tour, and then decorating it, moving, all of that good stuff. So lots of moving content coming soon if that's something you're interested in. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.